Hey guys, what's going on? So in today's video, we're going to talk about my dream druid gear and also the spec. So the best gear that you can get for a druid is tier 3. This set is obviously amazing, but it's itemized for restoration. So while you can PvP with it and you do receive a lot of stamina and intellect, it's not really our best option for PvP as a druid. Now currently in the game, most players are PvPing as a hybrid of resto and balance, known normally as Moonglow, but most druids are going to utilize this spec right now because we don't really have solid gear that has as much offensive stats on it like strength, agility, and spell power. So you can use a mix of, dungeon blues and raid off pieces to put together a good feral set at the moment in the game, but it's a little bit tricky. But more and more players are getting higher ranked in PvP, and that's going to open up the ability to use the blue and maybe even the epic PvP sets. And when you get to this point, this is when druid hybrid sets really become exciting. So this dream gear is going to be utilizing every item up until phase 6. So it's my personal favorite pieces, and some of it is going to be a little bit hard to obtain. And then again, a lot of it you can't even obtain right now in the game. It's going to be down the road. A lot of the pieces you might prefer other things, just that fit your playstyle more. But like I said, just prefacing, this video is going to be my personal favorite pieces. Now, if we look at the PvP sets for Druid, we notice that Blizzard gave Druids a solid amount of stats and attributes. As druids are a hybrid class, they set us up with the ability to kind of fill any role with these pieces. And now because of this, the best spec that we could build out would allow us to, shift in and out of forms with having a solid amount of attack power, and then also having a healthy amount of mana for shifting, healing, and our offensive spells. We also would want enough spell power to be able to dish out strong and impactful spells. This is why I believe that paired with the PvP gear, the best possible spec that we could play would be Heart of the Wild Nature Swiftness. I've talked a lot about Heart of the Wild Nature Swiftness and the strengths of that build in other videos, so I'm not going to go into it very much in this video, and I'll just link the video where I talk about it in the description. So if you want to learn more about Heart of the Wild NS, definitely check that video out. But now we're going to move into talking about the playstyle for this build and gear. So our goal with a druid is to take advantage of our full toolkit, right? So if we use our PvP set and the pieces that have strength and agility on them, but we never go into cat or bear form, we're kind of neglecting some key stats that we have, and we also are neglecting abilities that we have. So while we could build out a set that has just more raw spell power, we would lose out on a lot of defensive abilities, armor, and survivability. So if your personal dream as a druid is to sit back in the back of a team fight and, blast the enemy with starfires, then this video and the build really isn't probably going to be for you. But this gear set will allow us to move quickly between aiding our allies and, then dishing out damage in cat, bear, or caster form, depending on what situation we find ourselves in. That's why I really like this gear set and kind of this build, is we kind of can do a little bit of everything, and we're not going to have to switch in and out of gear quite as much as we would with other things. So with the high amount of armor and stamina that we get, we also will be able to sit in bear form and soak up a lot of damage while defending a node or carrying a flag, which obviously in a battleground situation is going to be something that you as a druid will be expected to do. So I will say that the best course of action is to have specific sets set up for different occasions, So if your team is calling for help at Lumber Mill, and you're in Arathi Basin and you know that you're going to be running there to heal the team, it's probably a smart idea to switch into, your full healing set that you use in PvE, because you're just going to be able to heal a lot more efficiently and effectively in PvP. But I do think that this build and this gear will kind of allow you to do pretty much everything and do it well enough that you're not going to have to be switching in and out of gear all the time, like I said. So let's go ahead and talk about that gear itself. So we're going to be using a mix of tier 2.5, which is the AQ40 gear, and we're going to be using some of our epic PvP gear. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there, myself included, that don't really want to spend the time ranking up to get, these epic PvP pieces. So you can switch these PvP pieces out for the remainder of the AQ40 gear and just find some off pieces from different raids. That would be my suggestion if you're not going to be taking PvP as seriously as some people and you don't really have the time to rank up. The PvP gear is really nice, obviously, and the 3-piece bonus with the movement speed is also very, very strong. But I will say that the PvP gear is by no means a necessity for PvP. You will be able to do just fine without it. Now, with these two sets, we will get a huge amount of stamina and intellect, which is important. It's going to give us a beefy mana pool and health pool. Additionally, the agility and strength on the different pieces of gear is going to obviously improve our cat and bear DPS, while also providing more armor and dodge. And then that additional spell power is going to help with, powering up our spells and heals, making them more efficient and effective. The rings and off pieces that I'm going for follow the same goals overall as the tier 2.5 gear. It's going to be high amounts of stamina and intellect, and also picking up some spell and melee hit along the way to help us have a better chance of landing our attacks and spells. Now, obviously, some of these items are going to be a lot harder to get your hands on, so finding substitutes or pieces that are similar or maybe a little better or a little worse for your playstyle is going to be something that you'll probably have to do, because, like I said, some of these pieces are pretty tricky to get your hands on. Now, though, let's move into talking about one of the key elements of this set, even though it's only 2 pieces, and that's going to be our belt and our bracers. Now, while these pieces are from the tier 3 set, which I told you is a little bit more of defensive gear, it's going to have more healing on it, picking up this 2-piece is going to help out a lot with offensive situations. It is, in my opinion, one of the strongest set bonuses in Classic WoW, and the fact that it's a 2-piece set bonus is insane. So what this 2-piece set bonus is going to allow us to do is it's going to give our rejuvenation ticks a chance to increase restore our mana, our rage, or our energy based on what class you're going to put that rejuvenation on, or what form you find yourself currently in. And I will say this procs quite a lot. I've done some testing on some emulation servers, and while those servers a lot of times are close to what Classic was like, they don't always match things up the same way that it was in Classic. So I did go back and look at forum posts, and a lot of people claimed back in the day that it procced a lot. It procs seemingly around 75% of the time, so you're going to often see this proc 2 to 3 times on your rejuvenation cast. It's obviously really, really strong. And the crazy thing is it can also proc on your rank 1 rejuvenation. So if you're just using rejuvenation to kind of attempt to get this proc to receive the rage or the energy benefits, you can save on a lot of mana by just using rank 1. So those 2 pieces are really key. And the great thing is the belt and the bracers, if you're doing knacks, you're going to get them anyways. So those pieces are awesome. Now, finally, let's just quickly talk about our weapon. So while a lot of you might be thinking, well, isn't your dream weapon Atiesh, the staff? This might be a goal for some of you guys, but for me, I'll probably be going to someone else in my guild. And also, Atiesh for druids is going to be more defensive with its stats. It's going to have healing power on it instead of spell power. So if we end up going with End of Dreams instead, we get spell power instead of healing power, which makes the weapon more offensive. And it also allows us to have and use other offhands in PvP, which obviously can be really nice. And also, End of Dreams is one of those weapons that's going to be a little bit easier to get your hands on, and it's one of the few weapons in the game that contain feral attack power, which is going to help us immensely within cat and bear form. So anyways, guys, with this gear layout and talent build, we can pretty comfortably handle our own in world PvP, but then also will be a huge asset in group PvP and battlegrounds with a huge amount of flexibility. So like I said, this personally is my dream layout. You guys might have some pieces that you prefer more, or some of you, this set might look fairly similar to what you would like to have. And with that being said, guys, that concludes this video. As always, I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care.